Bismillah, in fierce hand-to-hand fighting. Now the oven is getting hot, cried the Prophet. He was seen to lean forward eagerly to watch as the tide of the fighting ebbed and followed. If a Bedouin tribe's fighting force did not break their enemy with that first wild charge, they seldom lingered long, for they were usually after booty or honor, not death. In a short time, the Hawazin broke away and ran for their lives. Among the captives seized in the tents of the Bani Hawazin that had been pitched near the battlefield was an old Bedouin woman of the Bani Sa'd who loudly claimed she was the Prophet's sister. At first, the Muslim soldiers merely laughed at her, but her persistence eventually won the day, and two of them escorted her to Muhammad's distinctive tent, which was made of strips of leather dyed red. He came out to greet them. The old woman stepped forward. "O Muhammad, I'm your sister," she said simply. Notice that she used his first name. She exhibits here what you will find is one of the colored threads woven into the carpet of this book, namely that peculiar mixture of affectionate respect and simple familiarity that is the charm of nomadic society. "Have you any proof of that?" Muhammad asked her, for he did not recognize her by her face. She replied by pulling up the sleeve of her dress to reveal the white scar of a bit mark on the bottom skin. "You gave me that," she said. "Do you remember one day when I was carrying you on my head through the Wadi Sirhar to join the sounds?" "Oh Muhammad, I'm your sister," she said simply. Notice that she used his first name. She exhibits here what you will find is one of the colored threads woven into the carpet of this book, namely the peculiar mixture of affectionate respect and simple familiarity that is the charm of nomadic society. "Have you any proof of that?" Muhammad asked her, for he did not recognize her by her face. She replied by pulling up the sleeve of her dress to reveal the white scar of a bite mark on the brown skin. "You gave me that," she said. "Do you remember one day when I was carrying you on my hip through the Wadi Sirhar to join the shepherds?" The Bedouin captive was indeed Judama, his foster sister. Muhammad was overcome with joy to see her again and embraced her warmly. He spread his cloak for her in the time-honored gesture. They sat down together until late into the evening. They talked about their young days. Muhammad wanted to know about all that had befallen the members of his Bedouin foster family. Next morning she was sent on her way back to the desert tents, bearing gifts from Muhammad for herself and for her family. When they heard Judama's story, the chiefs of the Banu Sa'd clan of the Banu Hawazin saw their opportunity. They approached him and said, "O Messenger of God, the woman who suckled you as a baby and looked after you as a child are of our tribe. Have pity on us, the poor people who have suffered this disaster." Which are dearest to you?" Muhammad asked. "Your children and your wives, or your flocks and herds?" "Give us back our wives and children," they said to him as one. According to the Bedouin Sunnah, after such a battle, the captured women and the children were never killed or otherwise harmed. But they did risk being sold into slavery, for they belonged among the spoils of victory, at least until the Caliph Umar issued a law prohibiting the sale of Arabs into slavery. Muhammad undoubtedly had an obligation to grant the request of the Banu Sa'd chiefs, and he was scrupulous about such matters. But the Muslim warriors also expected to have their shares of the spoils of victory, which of course included the hapless Bani Sa'd men, women, and children. Muhammad resolved the dilemma with considerable political acumen. He told the Bani Sa'd chiefs to wait until a large assembly of the Muslim army leaders had gathered for the nobody prayer. "We ask the messenger's intercession with the Muslims, and we ask for the Muslims' intercession with the messenger to set free our wives and children," cried out the Banu Sa'd chiefs in loud voice, following Muhammad's private instruction to the letter. The soldiers from Medina spontaneously offered their share of the prisoners to the Prophet to dispose of as he pleased. But two of the Bedouin tribal contingents, the Khuzara and Bani Tamim, flatly refused to follow their example. So did the chief of a third tribe, the Banu or the Bani Sulaym. Not so. What is what is ours belong to the messenger, declared the tribesmen of the Bani Sulaym, much to the chagrin, to the chagrin of the sheikh. The debate in the assembly between the Arabs, all free and equal in the discussion, raged hotly for an hour or more. Do not underestimate the difficulties of the situation. The Bedouin have a proverb: the hawk dies with his eyes fixed on the prey. The hawk dies with his eyes fixed on the prey. Booty was the prey of the Bedouin, but they were as passionate about it as the hawk. Muhammad waited patiently for the right moment, and when it came, he was ready with just the right compromise. Whoever insists on his right to share of the prisoners should release them now, and will compensate him with 6 simple camels to every man from the next booty was. Muhammad issued no order. He told the men of the Bani Sa'd to appeal to the General Assembly of the Muslims using his practical wisdom to advise them correctly. He then showed judgment in choosing just the right time to exert his influence, for he knew the Bedouin well enough to know that 6 camels would prove more attractive to them than the burden of another wife. Notice too that he suggests to the Bani Sa'd leaders that they appeal to the Muslims to intercede with him, in other words, giving the Muslims the chance to gain honor in public by displaying their. Notice too that he suggests to the Bani Sa'd leaders that they appeal to the Muslims to intercede with him, in other words, giving the Muslims the chance to gain honor in public by displaying their magnanimity. Muhammad knew the Arab nomads. After all, he was, in Shakespeare's words, to the manner born. Another recipient of Muhammad's gifts after the Battle of Hunayn was the young Bedouin Qa'id, Arabic leader Malik ibn Auf, who had hotly persuaded the Banu Hawazin chiefs to make war against the Muslims after the capture of Makkah. He had done so incidentally against the far wiser counsel of Durayd ibn Sima, the tribe's most senior chief. Durayd was a veteran Bedouin war leader. The skin of his old legs, it is said, was as thin as paper from riding here for horses bareback on so many raids. Now ailing in health, he conducted himself with the courage and dignity of a great Bedouin chief, to show that it was not cowardice, as some young hotheads had suggested, that had led him to oppose Malik's rash declaration of war against Muhammad. Durayd had himself taken to the battle in a camel litter. During the rout of the Hawazin, a young warrior of the Bani Sulaym, a Bedouin tribe fighting on the Muslim side, galloped up to the litter, seized the camel by the reins, and thrust at him with his lance in a clumsy way. "How badly has your mother reared you?" said Durayd, totally calm and self-possessed, and besides, the Bedouin were remarkably unsentimental about death, their own or another's. Durayd then proceeded to give some advice to the beginner on how to kill him. "There, take that sword hung up behind my litter, and strike just between the spine and the head. It was there I used to slay the adversary in my day. Then go and tell your mother that you have killed Durayd. Many are the days in which I have saved the lives of the women of your tribe." He had indeed saved the youth's mother and his 2 grandmothers, but it earned him no mercy at Hunayn. Key points: a leader should exemplify or personify the qualities expected, required, and admired in their working groups. A leader of soldiers, for example, needs to demonstrate courage, the soldier's virtue, as Shakespeare called it. Courage is a quality shown by Muhammad at Hunayn. It is that which enables people to meet danger without giving way to fear, to act bravely under stress, or to endure in times of adversity. All members of working groups, organizations, or communities at all times in known history share one thing in common: they are all persons with a common and constant human nature. A universal leader then will be a person who exemplifies such distinctively human qualities as goodness, kindness, humanness, and compassion. Did you see any of these qualities in Muhammad? Another generic quality of universal leader is humility. The word comes from the Latin root humus, ground, earth, related to homo, man. When Muhammad spread his cloak, lowered himself, and sat on the ground with people at the same level, it was an act of humility. Compare a king sitting high upon a throne above his subjects who abase themselves before him. As they will tell you in Ghana, don't expect to be offered a chair when you visit a place where the chief himself sits on the floor. Don't expect to be offered a chair when you visit a place where the chief himself sits on the floor. It is the tribe that tells the chief how to do his job. Arab proverb. Alhamdulillah.